Well, first of all, welcome. My name is Kim Nelson Brown, and I am one of the Associate Athletic Directors up on campus in the athletic department. And this is year 20 for me at Illinois Wesleyan. And I was asked to introduce Mike Wagner, our new athletic director, and I'm not only honored to do it, but feel very privileged to do it. I have obviously worked with Mike all 20 years that I've been here, and very excited about him taking over as our athletic director. But there's a lot of things that Mike does that a lot of you may not know or realize that he does within our department or on our campus. And so before Mike comes up here and doesn't talk about himself, I am going to brag about him a little bit. Come on in. I want to welcome all of our alumni back for our homecoming weekend. This last year we had a transition. Mike became our third athletic director in the 68 years that we've had. We had Coach Hornberger, we had Coach Bridges, who retired this last year, and Mike took over. And so we are very excited about the future of our athletic department, but we love the consistency that we've had. I refer to coaching in athletics as very much like one of those pens that has 8 different colors. It's very similar to that because not only do we coach, we wear many different hats or colors, so to speak. Sometimes we're a psychiatrist, sometimes we're a doctor or a trainer, sometimes we coach, sometimes we're a mom or a dad to our players, but we wear an advisor, sometimes a counselor. You know, we wear many hats. And so not only do all the coaches do that, and Mike did it also, Mike wore a lot more. So if you think about a pen and how skinny that is that with all those different colors, Mike's is probably about this big in the amount of things that he gets involved in on our campus and our community. Mike has been with us for 23 years right now. Started 23, right? 24, sorry, 23, 24. But Mike started at Illinois Wesleyan in 1992. He started in our science department, actually helping out with the labs, chemistry labs, the biology labs, but at the same time as an assistant football coach. After several years of doing both and running from up on campus down to the field, Mike moved over to our athletic department full-time and spent 16 years as one of our assistant football coaches. During that time frame, he also became our head strength and conditioning coach. I've worked with Mike with our volleyball team, but also many different roles within that. But he designed and implemented all of our strength and conditioning programs for our athletes. He also filled in as head track and field coach. When our track and field coach left to take another position, Mike filled out with that. I was assistant track coach with Mike during that time frame. Since 2004, Mike has served as one of our assistant or associate athletic directors. During that time frame, he helped Coach Bridges in many ways, and I'm sure I'm going to miss a couple of things that he's done, so bear with me. He helped with fundraising initiatives, personnel decisions, operational structure, budget, gender equity compliance, marketing and promotions, and NCAA compliance. Also, when we've hosted NCAA Division III National Volleyball Championships here in 2007 and 2008. We've also hosted the National Championship Tournament for women's basketball, and we've hosted our indoor track and field championships. We've also hosted, almost 30 regional or sectional NCAA competitions on our site. And Mike has been the person behind the scenes who's been in charge of those, who's coordinated them, who's put in the bids for us to have that attention on our facilities and on our campus. And so the role that Mike has played, not only on our campus to draw people here, he has been the reason why we've been able to host all of those events. Mike is all about the overall experience for our student athletes. These are some rules that he created for our office this year. It says help each other, say please and thank you, dream big, make a difference, be at your best, never give up, love what you do good now, it's about us, be a good person, smile, it's a great day to be a Titan. These are friendly reminders that we all have posted, whether it be in the locker room or in our offices, just a general reminder of things that we need to do on our daily basis. Mike wants us to make sure that we're instilling all these values in our student athletes, but also Mike's really important, or his big thing, is to make sure that the overall experience of our student athlete is one that they'll look back on and enjoy. When we talk about those championships, when they came in and the NCAA came in, Mike was about setting up the rooms with big beanbag chairs and Xbox and Wii's and fruit snacks, and we had everything. Some of those players didn't even want to leave the room that we had for them because he made it so nice. Not only did he take care of the student athletes when they came and visit our campus for those championships, he takes care of our own. He wants to make sure that they have the best. He's always constantly fixing things around Shirk. I look at the amount of committees he's on besides just all the different responsibilities he does around the Shirk Center. So bear with me as I talk about some of these things. Mike served as a first-year advisor up until this last year. He has helped with supervising all of our home sporting events between Coach Bridges and himself. Now it's between Tony Bankston and him. Mike has played a big role along with Coach Bridges on our newly expanded Shirk Center. I can't even begin to list the amount of committees. He is on here in campus. At one point, I think it was 20 something. Yeah. So he's learned how to delegate and assign those off to some of us, but also within the community. It's amazing how many times I see him and he's like, I'm off to do a community engagement. And so I don't know when he sleeps. I really don't. The other thing that I want to talk about, we have a slogan in our offices called Victory with Honor, and that we promote to our athletes to everything we do. We win like champions, we lose, we act like champions. You have this respect for your opponent at all times. And that is something that's been passed down from generation to generation, and I know Mike taking over for Coach Bridges will continue that tradition, and I think that's very important. So it is my pleasure to introduce our new athletic director, Mike Wagner. Even though for some of you, you've known Mike for several years, for some of you it might be your first experience meeting Mike, but I can promise you, you will enjoy learning more from him about our athletic department, but just a great overall person and someone I like to call a friend and a mentor. So, it's all yours, Mike.
I'm not sure how we'll be able to live up to that introduction. That was very nice and very thoughtful, and I greatly appreciate it. It is definitely a pleasure for me to be speaking, to you today. What a great group of alums that have meant so much to the university, and over the years, I'm glad that you're back here now on campus this weekend, and those that are on campus, all the time, just coming to listen to me speak a little bit today, about what we see as success in athletics and the integration of academics and athletics. And in the title, when I was talking about that, they asked, well, I said, what do you want me to talk about? And a lot of it was, I think in the headlines and all that kind of stuff, and you read in the Panagraph or on the iwsports.com and all that kind of stuff, it's always about, talking about the wins and losses, and you don't necessarily know what our student athletes are doing besides playing in their respective sport. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, and also the values that I think that sports, injects into, our young athletes, before they get here, and then how we reinforce those, as a student athlete at Illinois Wesleyan. So, and we are very fortunate at Illinois Wesleyan to be part of such a great community that has such a strong tradition in the classroom and on the field of play. And if you look back over the years, the successes that we've had, we're celebrating this weekend, the CCIW championships that we've won, and you'll see a video later on. Since we've been in the CCIW, we've won 137 championships and several, and the best part about that too is it's just not in one sport. There's a lot of institutions out there that, they say they have all these championships. Well, sometimes they're just in one or two sports. We have won a championship in 15 different sports. We only have 20. So I think that's pretty good. So I think we do a great job of making sure that each one of our teams has the opportunity to be successful. I think one of the things that we've really kicked up the last few years is a tradition of elevating new heights of what we do as a student athlete in the community, and what we accomplish with them and helping others, making a difference, besides just in our little bubble here. Maybe every time, I think you've probably heard this before about the Wesleyan bubble, and we're trying to break out of that a little bit and making sure we're really making sure we're having an impact on those in the Bloomington Normal community, and whether it be around the country, in the state, wherever it may be, back in their hometowns, things that they learn here, or things that they learn about giving back and what it means to do that, and they can take that back to others and teach them how important it is to make a difference. I think the number one reason for our success at Illinois Wesleyan has always been, it's been about us. It hasn't been about one individual person. I think that it's so important that you realize that others around you that have influenced you have made a difference in your success in your life. And I think that everybody takes pride in that. Everybody on our staff, the faculty, the administration, they all want anybody that's associated with Illinois Wesleyan to be successful. I think it's important for us to see and give you the opportunity to do that. I think that's been a strong philosophy for us, and we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of successful individuals, and I hope that all of those that have gone out to do great things know that, or feel that they didn't do it on their own, that they had others around them that helped influence them to get them to where they are. The NCAA started really trying to market what their philosophy was, and why Division III and not Division I or Division II. And they've really made a strong marketing campaign to try and really make sure that everybody out there understands what Division III values and philosophy is. And they kind of came up with this creative marketing of the 3 Ds. And the first D is discover. And as D3 student athletes are encouraged to pursue their interests and their passions, sound familiar? We always talk about that around here, pursue your passions. Beyond the classroom and field of play, and to discover themselves when they're going out and they're doing other things besides in the classroom and in their sport. They're volunteering in the community, or they're becoming a part of a fraternity or sorority, or they're in the in the biology club, or whatever it may be. They're going to find what their passions are and be able to pursue those. The next one is to develop. And to develop, D3 institutions, again, want to provide an environment that encourages student athletes to develop into well-rounded adults. We have small class sizes, as most Division III institutions are, ability to participate in more than one sport, and an emphasis in participating in other activities. And I am still a big advocate of allowing students to pursue all those avenues. If a student athlete wants to pursue 2 sports, I want them to do it. If they want to, do one sport and be part of a Quidditch club, which we started this year on campus, or become part of a band and be part of the Titan band or whatever it may be, I want them again to encourage them and be a part of that. And I think that's one of the advantages of being at an institution like Illinois Wesleyan and part of the D3 philosophy. And the third D is to dedicate. D3 institutions expect student athletes to dedicate themselves to achieving their potential. And student athletes must manage their busy schedules, keep up with their classwork, and face the same challenges as the rest of the student body. I lived that a little bit as a student athlete, where I think one of the more demanding majors to have is in the sciences, that's biology and chemistry, not because of necessarily the work itself, it's because all the extra things you have to do, the labs, the time that you have to manage in addition to your sport. And I was a biology major, so I was able to play sport and be involved in a lot of clubs and activities and be a biology major. And I don't think that's not as encouraged at the higher levels as it is here. We want them, and I think that's helped me become who I am today, because I feel like I've had a lot of different experiences, that have helped shape, again, who I am and then how I can influence others. A lot of the, I think, misconceptions or myths out there are that, student athletes may not be as successful in the classroom as a student because of the time that they have to spend, away from, out of the classroom, and maybe the extra time with homework or labs, or we're going to try and fix this here.
Yeah,
a little hot, so. And last year, the information that I got from our registrar and admissions office is that the student athletes GPA on campus last year was very similar to what the general student body was. In fact, the general student body average GPA last year was a 3.26, and the average GPA of the student athletes were 3.18. So very, very similar. In addition to that, the average ACT coming in for a student last year, a non-student athlete, was a 27.2, and for a student athlete was 27.1. Not much of a difference. So we're not admitting any student athletes, into our campus and into our community if we don't feel like they can be successful here. We're not going to do those favors because that's not doing them any justice. It's only going to hurt them in the long run. So we try and make sure that not only in the admittance stage, but also after they're here, that we give them the time and they have the discipline and everything to be successful in the classroom. There's some core values that I think are very important as part of becoming a full person and be able to be successful in their careers and in life, and whether that's as a father, as a mother, as a daughter, as whatever it may be, that I think that we're going to talk a little bit about today. And I think these are some of the values that sports can either develop or reveal in somebody. I think sometimes you have it in you and you don't know how to get it out. I think sometimes that's what sports will allow them to bring that out. I think sometimes it also will be able to, again, you may not understand exactly how to get from point A to point B. And athletics, I think, sometimes help develop that character, develop that discipline, or develop, and understand what perseverance means and all that. And we're going to go through some of these right now. I'm going to hit up on each one of these individually. But these are the kind of ones, there's a lot out there, but these are the ones I decided to focus on today. The discipline, the hard work, teamwork, dealing with successes and failures. And I think that's what Kim alluded to a little bit earlier when she talked about the victory of honor. And I'll talk a little bit about that more later. Setting goals and how important it is to set goals. And then practice and preparation, and again, perseverance. I think discipline, you needed to learn the skills and the discipline to put in the time and the preparation to maximize your performance. And that, again, that doesn't matter if that's in athletics or in your studies, or if you're trying to be the best parent, best father, best mother that you could possibly be. You just don't wing it. You have to make sure that you prepare and you have the discipline to do it. If you don't care and you don't work at it, you're not going to be the best that you can be at that. Again, hard work. I think athletic teaches that you must work hard to improve and reach your full potential. You can extend your potential by outworking others around you. And I forgot I had these on here, these slides, so I'll go back to discipline. On each one of these, I forgot I put my favorite quote up there about each one of these. And discipline, I think discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. And I think that, if you don't have the discipline, you're going to have goals, and you might not be able to reach what your accomplishment is if you don't have discipline and work towards that. Hard work. This is my favorite quote, and I actually put this quote on the back of the t-shirts of my daughter's softball team that I coach, and so I wanted to remind them about this, and that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Again, that's one of my favorite quotes about the hard work. Teamwork. Team sports are a great way of meshing your efforts into a team format, and all pieces must fit together to create the success. If you have somebody that's pretty good over here and somebody that's pretty good, but they're not working together, the team's not going to be successful. I think that's just like in a group project when you're in a class. If the team part that's working on that is not working together, you're not going to be as successful with that. I think team supersedes the recognition of individual accomplishment and working together as part of a group with a common goal. Things that can be accomplished that otherwise would be out of the reach of a particular individual. And there's a quote that I like about teamwork. I think it's important that when you're a team because you respect, trust, and care for each other. You're not a team just because you're a group that are hanging out together. dealing with successes and failures. Knowing how to win is just as important as learning from your losses. Successes can be cherished with teammates while not degrading your opponent. Not winning a contest or accomplishing team goals can be a lesson to us all. Any failure is just a temporary setback from which lessons can be learned. And that goes back again to what Kim was talking about earlier with the victory with honor. I think true champions deal with success and failure, not just the success alone. Because I tell my kids this all the time, not only my son and my daughter, but the teams that I've coached over the years, that you can learn just as much from a win out of a loss as you can from a win, and vice versa. I talk to them all the time about the conduct on the court. I'm not a big fan of the showboating, and a lot of times you see in the NBA and the NFL and all the chest pounding and all that kind of stuff. That stuff drives me crazy. So what I've always told my kids is that if you make a basket and you hit a three-pointer and you start pounding your chest, I want you to do the same exact thing when you throw the ball away or you travel. And if you can handle doing that, then you can pound your chest when you make the great play. That's okay. They really never pound their chest anymore or start jumping up and down. So, and setting goals. I think successful people are the ones who set short and long-term goals and focus their efforts on accomplishing those goals. I think organized sports lends itself to goal setting. Everyone can have a goal regardless of the talent level, and they can experience success through proper preparation. In life, you'll be more successful if you are setting goals in academics and other areas of your lives. It's not really whether you reach those goals or if you make and you are successful 100% of the time, but I think the effort and the discipline and all the things that we've been talking about help you become a better person and help give you the chance and the opportunity to make that next step or to be successful. And on setting goals, a quote that I like for that is, a dream is just a dream. A goal is a plan with a deadline. You can dream it out there, but if you have a goal, you have a certain time that you want to get that done, and these are the things that you're going to do in order to reach that. Just two more here. Practice and preparation. Come ready or never start. That's what I always tell my players. Come ready to go or don't even show up. Because if you're not going to be there fully engaged 100%, you're not going to get anything out of that practice. You're not going to make yourself better. Going through the motions and not understanding the plays will only be not only detrimental to yourself, but to the teammates around you, and you never want to bring those around you down. And a couple of the quotes I like on practice and preparation: there's no glory in practice, but without practice there is no glory. And by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. And that was a quote I saw from Ben Franklin that I've always liked. And the last one here is perseverance. Now, strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't do. And life isn't always fair. I think there's things that happen in life that are difficult, and you have to be able to overcome them. And to be honest with you, the adversity that you overcome in athletics is nothing compared to some of the adversity that you're going to have to face at some time throughout your life. But if you can't handle that adversity in sports, if you can't handle those little things that go wrong, then you're never going to be able to handle the bigger problems and bigger issues that you may encounter throughout your lifetime. So I think it's very important to make sure that you instill in young kids and through sports, how to deal and how to learn and how to battle through adversity and overcome it. I'm sure you've all seen this quote before, and it was made famous by former President Meyer Myers. Go into the world and do well, but more importantly, go into the world and do good. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I wanted to take this to a different level. And so I came up with this. That quote inspired athletics in our SAC, our Student Athlete Advisory Committee, to talk about do good now. We want our student athletes to go out and not only do good after they leave here, but to do it while they're here. And that really kicked off what we started as our major community service engagement program that we have set up in athletics, that we eventually folded into what the university plan was. But we created a Do Good Now award that we give out at our end of the year Tommy Awards. If you've ever seen the ESPYs before, that's kind of what our Tommy Awards is. And we give an award to the team that has made the biggest impact in the community. In addition to that, we give them a $500 to be able to give to the charity of their choice that they feel like they want to go on and pass what they've earned off to somebody else to help that organization. And we've done that now for 3 years, going on our 4th year this year, and we've had, again, a tremendous amount of success with it. And part of the things I was going to talk today about is, again, what not only our successes on the field of play, but also, again, what our student athletes are doing off the field, and this is a big part of it. And since we started tracking community service about 3 years ago, IW student athletes have gone out and raised over $80,000 for local charities through different things. We've been the top fundraiser for Special Olympics the last couple of years, the Alzheimer's Walk, I can go on and on, the Community Cancer Center. We've raised, just for the Community Cancer Center alone in the last 3 years, it's about I'd say about $18,000 that we've donated to them. In addition to that, besides just the philanthropy part of it, they've given over 20,000 hours of community service back to our local community just in these last 3 years, 2.5 years. And we started it off as a goal of trying to get every student athlete to commit 10 hours a year, 5 hours a semester. And we thought that was very realistic and not easy to do, but we wanted to make that commitment. And shortly after that, the university launched a program called the Give a Day campaign, which kind of promoted for everybody on campus, all students on campus, to generate 24 hours a year in giving back to the community. And so we jumped on with that right away this last year, and we didn't reach that with every one of our student athletes, but we're getting closer. And actually this year I've got 5 teams that have committed to me that every one of their student athletes is going to make that 24 hours. And I am so thankful for them and grateful for them that they decided to make this a big part of their experience at Illinois Wesleyan. Talk a little bit about that. It's just integration of back into the community. The honor roll, we have, the university applies for the presidential honor roll every year. And the last 2 years, because of the work that we've done in athletics, that there's been athletic stories that have been part of both of those applications to be on the presidential honor roll. And I'm glad to say that both years we made the presidential honor roll. And athletics, again, it wasn't the whole story, but it was part of it. I talked about the Give a Day. Athletics is really committed. We had a walk a mile event, in our shoes event here a couple weeks ago on campus, which is to promote awareness about sexual violence and to really stop sexual assault on campuses. And we had 180 of the 207 people in attendance were student athletes. We got them out there. The men walked in high heel red shoes around campus. I was one of them too as well. It's not easy, but I did it. Made it around the quad. But again, to raise awareness and to make sure that the women that are part of Illinois Wesleyan and the community know that the men support them to try and stop this. All In for Wesleyan, we had some great attendance by our student athletes at the All In for Wesleyan event to kind of build camaraderie and to kind of build up drum for our Wesleyan fund. And I think our women's lacrosse team was definitely all in on that day. I think they participated in just about everything. Some of the other things that we do on an annual basis, we do a trick or treat for canned goods every year on Halloween, where our student athletes go out in the community and they collect non-perishable food items, and we give that to a local pantry. Each year we average about 5,000 items for that organization. We've done the polar plunge for Special Olympics the last 3 years, and we've been the top earner the last 2, raising about $20,000 in those 2 years. And yes, it is very cold. I have done it with them the last 2 years. Last year when they announced that the temperature outside was 32 degrees and the water temperature was 31 degrees, it kind of made me a little bit nervous, but it's for a great cause, and it's really not that bad. It is cold, but it's not that bad. Our football team does an annual walk every year in the fall in honor of former coach Don Swede Larson, where they raise about $5,000 to $6,000 per year for Alzheimer's Foundation. Our teams are very involved in the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Walk and Run, where we go out the day before and really help set up their whole parking lot at State Farm to get it ready for the event the next day. And then I mentioned this a little bit earlier, we host annual Pink Zone games in basketball, soccer, and softball, which again has over the last 2-3 years has raised $18,000 to $20,000 for the Community Cancer Center. Almost all of our teams get into the local community at the elementary schools and do reading programs with the kids. And I'm not sure who enjoys that more, the kids at the schools or our student athletes, because you just see the smiles on their faces when they go out and read to these young kids. But the thing that I'm probably the most proud of since we started this was in these last 3 years of really engaging our kids in community service was when we had the tornado in Washington, Illinois a few years ago. And the response that we got from our student athletes was, I mean, it was jaw-dropping to me. You know, we were hosting a soccer regional that weekend, and we had to cancel the games and move it to Monday, and you know, the storms. We didn't really know the true devastation of what hit Washington until one of our assistant coaches' family lived in Washington, and they were starting to show us some of the pictures. And we had a regularly scheduled SAC meeting on Tuesday, and I mentioned to them that I'd like to take a group of student athletes over to Washington on Wednesday, and you know, whoever can do it, it's the next day, you know, I'll take whatever kid. And then we were also going to have a group that went over on Sunday. Well, the very first day that we went, I just rented or reserved a 15-passenger vehicle. That wasn't enough. So then on Sunday, I decided, well, I'll get two 15-passenger vehicles and a 30-passenger victory wagon that we have. So that would be able to seat 60 people that we were going to take over to Washington. Well, on that Sunday, we had about 115 student athletes and coaches that went over to Washington, Illinois to help with their relief fund, and we worked all day. And even though what we did, you know, for 8 to 10 hours that day, you know, I'm not sure how much of a difference it made because the devastation was pretty severe. But the way they jumped in and just did it without questioning and exceeded any expectation I've ever had on a last minute to go over there to help those people that again were devastated by that act of nature. I was very impressed with their response and attitude and effort while they were there. And again, we have a lot of alums in that area, and I think they appreciated us being over there as well. So I thought I might need to either get a David Letterman drum roll here or something like that, because I created a top 10 reasons to give back. And some of these I'll go through pretty quickly. And not necessarily, I'm not sure if this is any order of importance, but I think they're all good reasons why it's important to give back. Number 10, because it feels good. I think it just as an individual helps you feel better, not only about yourself, but knowing that you're helping others. I think it brings people together. You know, it can unite people from diverse backgrounds to work towards a common goal. I think it builds camaraderie and teamwork again, which we talked about earlier. It saves resources. I think it provides value of community service, so more money can be spent on other improvements. I think anytime you can go out in the community and help, whether it's cleaning up a day or, you know, Habitat for Humanity, building homes, whatever it may be, you know, there's other resources that they need to have food and other things that, you know, can go towards that. You can get professional experience, and we talk to our student athletes about all these things as well. And I think you can learn other valuable skills by doing community service. You know, sometimes somebody may have never built a house before, you know, and they're going to go out and they're going to give back and they're going to learn. They're going to learn how to put up a wall and put a studs up and, you know, frame out a bathroom or whatever it may be. Do some plumbing work. You know, I think you can find new opportunities. I think you can widen your social network, build your resume. I think it promotes personal growth and self-esteem, understanding community needs, help foster empathy. Strengthens your community. I think it supports families, improves schools. You support the youth in your community, and I think it also, again, helps beautify the community. We've had a great group of student athletes and students on campus that have done just a wonderful job on a West Side revitalization project. where we built a tool library. Our student athletes started a West Side 5K. This is the first one ever on the West Side. They've done cleanup days where they've gone and rebuilt porches, painted houses, and really have tried to make the community better. I think it helps you take a leadership role. I think you can improve your leadership skills, and provide encouragement to other volunteers and an opportunity to share your passion with others. Somebody may go to one of these events just to kind of go and be there. I think if you can share and show your enthusiasm and your passion, that could rub off on others to get them to, I'm not doing this just to be here, I want to be here, and really enjoy it. I think it's good for you. I mean, this has been shown in different studies. I read this in about 3 or 4 different places where it can reduce stress and kind of interrupts tension-producing situations. I think it makes you healthier. Optimism and joy will definitely strengthen your immune system. And I think the number one reason you can make a difference. I mean, you can make a difference to inspire those around you to make a difference as well. I mean, again, what I just talked about before, you can inspire others to do and give up your time and talent and treasures. The D3 emphasis on academics and service student athletes report following. And I just wanted to put this out there. This is a short report, and it kind of ties in all the things that I've been talking about here, that I think student athletes are more likely to report leadership potential as an important consideration when choosing a career. I know you can read that, I won't go through all of them, but again, it goes back to a greater involvement in volunteering, and that's something that we're consciously talking about and doing all the time. Maybe a better connection back to the campus, and then report more engagement and participation in academic extras. This is one of the quotes that I liked about giving back that I read from Lou Holtz. I enjoy being a winner, but more important, I hope that I have been a person of significance in the life of others, or in young men and women. And part of my topic, again, was the pillars of success. And I talked about this, and I'm going to talk to you in part of how I evaluate our coaches and how I evaluate our staff. And those pillars are, the team and individual player successes in the classroom. Again, I want to make sure that our coaches give the opportunities for our student athletes to be successful in the classroom. That means they never miss a class or anything for a practice. And then we work with those faculty and staff when we have to miss for a competition or a game. Make sure that they're in constant communication with them. I like for them to have a safety net, start catching them before they fall, so that having conversations with the coaches and with the students, finding out, are they struggling? They may be able to pinpoint something that's happening in their life or issues that they may be having in the classroom and get them help before it's too late. So I want them constantly talking to their players about what it means to be successful in the classroom. I think team and individual player successes and community engagement, and I've talked a lot about that today, but again, I want the coaches to be involved. I want them to set things up. I want to make sure that they stress the importance of giving back to the community. And obviously one of those is going to be the team success on the field of play. I evaluate that by a lot of different ways. Do they have the necessary resources, both human resources and facilities and all that kind of stuff to be successful? And if you've been down to our facilities recently, if you haven't been back in a while, I think we can say that we're pretty fortunate to have what we have here on campus. There's always ideas that I have to make them better, but I think we're very fortunate. And then again, the fourth one there, the fourth pillar is success in developing the student athletes who represent IWU in an unrivaled way while in school, and developing leaders and individuals to become great fathers, great mothers, husbands, wives, friends, and uphold the core values of honor and pride in all that you do. Yes?
Do you have any approximate rating factors on each of those items?
I don't. I think it's important for them to push for all that. I think success, I think a lot of people say, well, if a coach isn't doing well, are you going to fire them right away? Well, are they, once again, do they have all those necessary resources in order to be successful? Are they making progress towards, success on the field? Are they doing all these other things? And so I will evaluate on all four of these. If they're, and my job is to make sure that I get these out of the coaches too. My job is to be a mentor for them and have discussions with them. Okay, what are you doing? I'm hearing that we're not maybe stressing this enough. how can I help you get that done? And so after we've exhausted that and they have an unwillingness to improve on these areas or don't have the drive, the dedication, and they don't put in the proper effort, then yes, then that's when we'll have a little sit down and probably, go through some deeper discussions, yes. So, we're fortunate here though. I've been here for 24 years, like we mentioned, and we've had to fire 2 people. I mean, I think we as a university as a whole and in our athletics, I think we attract great people that want to do great things, that become a part of Illinois Wesleyan, the fabric of who we are, and they buy into this. It's my job to make sure that I help them and teach them and instruct them and help find maybe ways to improve on some of these things. Obviously, this is very, very important for me, and it's important for all the coaches. Part of it is doing the right thing, and that's following all the NCAA rules. And then I think the other thing too that's very important that I stressed even throughout my whole interview process is that I wanted to make sure that all of our coaches were all in when they're needed by others. And what I mean by that is I think, and I talked about this a little bit before, that we talked about the Wesleyan bubble, and I think sometimes in different parts of campus, including in athletics, and even it used to be at least, where I think sometimes coaches will put a little silo over themselves and not worry about everything else that's going around them. And that is the last thing I want, because you never know when you're going to need help as well. And it's hard for you to ask for help if you're not willing to help others. So I stress that to them all the time, and it's not about just our department. It's not about just the people in our office, but it's anybody that's on campus and anybody in any other department. And Kim talked about all the different committees that I was on earlier, and I thought that was so important for me to be a part of everything that is on campus, so that we can make sure that academics and athletics are fully integrated and neither one is separated. Because again, I think athletics is just part of the development of the whole person. It's not the only thing, it's just part of it. And so it's important for me to make sure that I'm a part and I can help others, and I can also maybe educate other departments on the things that we are doing, to make sure that they're successful in the classroom, in the community and everything else. I created this video, so I'm going to go ahead and let it play here. It talks about our athletic successes, academic successes, the combination of those two, and then our successes in the community as well. Corey will be speaking tomorrow. We have several teams that are either number one in the division or number one overall in the country in producing academic All-Americans. I think that shows all the strength that we have both in athletics and academics. Those are the red shoes I was talking about earlier. These are the 3 Do Good Now awards I was talking about earlier. And this is the quote that we've always talked about Victory with Honor, and like I said, Kim talked about it earlier, and she addressed that with you. And last year, as a student athlete advisory committee and myself, we decided to finally put a definition to it. It was always just kind of passed along here and there, and I'm not sure everybody really knew what it meant. And so this is the definition that they came up with, that we worked on together. And again, it goes back to some of the core values and the principles that we talked about earlier, about to make sure that you know how to win, you know how to lose, and make sure that you always respect your opponents. And that is it. Well, I appreciate everybody's attention and showing up today. Is there any questions that anybody has? Yes?
You mentioned there are 20 team sports.
Correct.
In terms of capital needs for the sports,
Yes.
are you where you want to be in the future, short-term, intermediate, long-term? What are your needs for capital improvements?
Capital improvement wise, again, I think we're in pretty good shape. I think there's always little things that we need to do to improve. And I think the hard thing for us right now is we have such a beautiful complex in the Shirk Center. It's been there. We just added that addition on, the $6.5 million addition to that. And I think that some of our coaches and our teams and our players will say, well, maybe our facility may not be up to the same standards as what we have at the Shirk Center or Jack Hornberger Field, and so there's always, I think, capital improvements that we would like to do. For instance, our soccer field, I would love to get a better surface down there, maybe some bathrooms, working out in, right now we're still using porta potties down there, so I think there's some things to facilities that we would like to see done, over the next 5, 10, 15 years, to make the facilities up to the par of what some of the other ones are. I'm not complaining at all. I'm very grateful and absolutely love the facilities that we have. But again, I think, as soon as you stop, dreaming and planning and looking towards the future, then I think you kind of just peter out a little bit. You're not going to keep climbing and have opportunities for success. So, yeah, I think as a capital and then capital projects, we'd always like to see, some improvements to make some of our facilities better for all the student athletes and students in general too. Our facilities are not just used by student athletes. Our facilities are used by everybody. Whether it's the Tucci Stadium, the Shirk Center, it's not an exclusive, to others. Our practice field, our baseball field, softball field is used by intramurals. So I think when we make capital improvements, when we make improvements to our facilities, it's impacting not just the 550 student athletes that we have, but it's impacting all 2,000 students and also our faculty and staff and alums that come to watch the events. So.
Tennis courts too.
Yes, working on those. Those are we improved a lot in 2001 when we added those 3 upper courts. We can actually host a full meet now. But again, the same thing. I think that goes with a lot of facilities. There's little things that we would always like to do, but again, very grateful what we do have. Any other questions? Yes.
How do Wesleyan's facilities compare overall to other teams that have the top, middle, or bottom?
I think when you look at the overall complex that we have, I think we're definitely near the top. I think maybe a few of the other institutions may have a better stadium, a football stadium, or soccer complex or whatever it may be, but I think when you look over the overall complex that we have, and especially with the new addition for the Shirk Center, I mean, that's going to put us in some areas that other places don't have across all of Division III. You know, when we move into that space, every single one of our teams will have their own locker room, which is not too many places that have that. So, I mean, again, I think we're definitely near the top. Not saying that we're definitely the best, but it's very good. One of the, I think for those that come to basketball games in the wintertime, I think you'll appreciate this, is that we are opening up an east side gate off the parking lot starting this year. We'll have glass doors down at the end with a ticket booth off that east end, so you won't have to walk all the way up to the front. You'll be able to come right off the parking lot and into the game. So I've heard that I spoke at Westminster Village back in June, and that was the #1 question I had. So we could finally say that we're doing it. So for those that enjoy coming to the winter events that we have in Shirk. Again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate and enjoy your homecoming weekend. I'll stick around if you need any questions. Thank you.